Welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast, brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, when you use code DNVR at sign up, your $5 bet on the NBA Finals is going to be $150 in free bets if you can pick that winner with DraftKings Sportsbook all throughout the NBA Finals when you sign up using code DNVR. I am Patrick Lyons.
And I am Suzie Hunter. Patrick, we've enjoyed these 48 hours away from baseball, but now we are resetting and we're getting ready for a series in San Francisco.
We are. We've got someone returning to the team, someone that's probably going to get you excited. We've got an award that was given to a certain Rockies player. As you said, we'll preview the series, talk about some managerial changes, what's the impact of those changes and as it relates to the Colorado Rockies. And of course, we're going to play some games. But yes, the day off was refreshing, especially since the Colorado Avalanche are going to the Stanley Cup Finals.
So nice that we also had the time to watch it. I'm super stoked. I'm stoked for the DNVR Avs team too, because I know we just get more from them, but this is awesome. This is freaking awesome. And I also did see Kyle Freeland's wife posted an Instagram reel, like recapping like their playoff experiences so far. And I was like, yeah, I'm hype right now. It was a great hype video.
It would have been a bummer if the Rockies had a game on Monday night and then all of those people would have found out the next morning that the Avs had swept in Game 4. So it was nice that the Rockies didn't take that attention away from the Avs, as we know would have happened had they had a game going on at the same time. But you know what? We don't have to worry about that. Thankfully, everyone got to watch and it was exciting, and our coverage on the DNVR.com was fantastic. So happy for Rudo, Evan, AJ, Blaze, Megan, and everyone, that whole Avs family, crushed it. And it was fun watching the watch party in between the end of regulation and overtime. So it was fun. That's what I spent some of my day doing, along with making my first batch of cold brew. It's cold brew season. I'm calling it. Let's go.
Do you normally make cold brew, or is this like your first time?
I added it to the arsenal last summer. And it was amazing. I will be bringing some to Coors Field, incidentally. So you will have an opportunity.
You absolutely need to. That was my next request. I'm ready to get turned up with your whole brew.
It's fantastic. What does an off day for Suzie Hunter look like? Anything good, or is it just relaxing? Anything specific?
I famously love to spend all of my off hours in bed. Not this bed. This is my guest room, but my actual bed, which inclines and reclines and stuff like a hospital bed would. It's like such an old lady bed. So I spent a lot of time in bed, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, I had a little time to do some reading, which was enjoyable. Not as much as I would have liked, but it felt like a true off day. Did have the podcast, of course, with Drew Goodman, but other than that, I definitely cleared my schedule off, and it was nice for the first time since, the lockout. Similar situation for you too, right? Don't want another lockout. Don't hear that the wrong way, but it was a good day overall, and it was also a good day too, because on Monday we learned that Brendan Rodgers was named the National League Player of the Week.
Yes, and this is also the first time since CJ Cron was Player of the League player of the week last August. So Rocky hasn't seen it in a little bit, but he absolutely, I mean, I predicted he was going to pop off, but he's been batting 345. He's been 10 for 29 with 10 runs scored, 2 doubles, 4 home runs, 7 RBI, 4 walks, and an 8.28 slugging percentage across 7 games.
Yeah, he had a huge week, and it was nice to see him get that nod. 3 home run game, obviously being that big one. The third one as a walk-off home run late on the night on Wednesday, which we found out. We did confirm it. Suzie did her homework, and we found out there were 3 major league teams in Colorado at that point. Atlanta had landed at 8:00, and I think the game was still going on at that point. So that's a fun little wrinkle. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen very frequently. I mean, think about it. It's a doubleheader on a getaway day. That can be a rare thing. And the team stays home, and the team coming in is in your same time zone. So that's kind of a fun little trivia question that no one will remember or care about probably in
we care
5 minutes.
We care.
I care. Yes, exactly.
As DNVR's official aviation reporter, I'm happy that I could dig into this and find out for sure how many teams we had in Denver on Wednesday night. So I'm glad we figured it out. Put it to rest.
It was important. And it was also important. It was also important for Brendan Rodgers to have that 20-game hit streak. As we know, it did snap, and then he immediately turned around, and now he's got a 2-game hit streak going into Tuesday's night's game in San Francisco. Longest streak of 20 games or more since Cargo did it back in 2015, at the end of 2015 into 2016. So really, when you look at it, if you want to recalibrate for those hitting streaks that go from the end of one season to the next and say, hey, it has to be in one season, Rodgers probably moves up that list a little bit. That happened to Jimmy Rollins. I don't know if you remember that from the early 2010s where he ended a season and then he began with like maybe 6 games or something like that. It's still a hitting streak, statistically speaking, but we think of it being over the course of 1 year. So B-Rod, that was really fantastic. And it made me kind of want to dig in to a little bit of history. I like doing that more so in the off season, but I thought, well, you know what?
Do you?
No one cares about player of the
history?
Week. No one cares about player of the week in like December and January. So it's like, hey, let's capitalize on it. And you pointed out, you beat me to something about Crone being the last player of the week. Josh Fuentes was the one previous to that. He's definitely the outlier when you look at the list of players who are the player of the week for the Rockies. And almost all of them were all-stars or almost an all-star or was an all-star for another team. Daniel Murphy was the previous one, but then Josh Fuentes, he just had this huge year in May, and then we didn't actually end up seeing him much after that. So not sure how many player of the weeks ended up spending a majority of their career in the minor leagues in that season. Just kind of an interesting anomaly.
That is an anomaly, yeah. And of course now we don't see him at all anymore.
Nope, he's shuffled off to Buffalo. He's with Toronto. I haven't checked in on him in a couple weeks, actually. Probably should do that. But all-time 6 Player of the Week awards for Charlie Blackmon, Dante Bichette, Nolan Arenado. It's still early in his career. What's the over-under you're going to set for Player of the Week awards for Brendan Rodgers? Because he's streaky. And that's a good thing. Yeah. That's beneficial. MVP is different than Player of the Week or Player of the Month. So because he's streaky and, again, 6-7 games at home at Coors Field, dunk a couple extra baseballs in. You need 2 home runs to make a little bit of noise. There's some runners on base. He's been hitting cleanup as of late. He's going to have, maybe a little bit more opportunities to do that. I would set the over under at 2.5. What are you going to take on that one?
I'm going to take the over. I've got the number 4 in my head for some reason. So I'm taking the over.
Okay. I had 3, and so that's why I kind of put it at 2.5. So I think I would take the over on that. Last player to win back-to-back Player of the Week awards, which I don't know that it means much. It's just, hey, nobody else on your team did it. Was Nolan Arenado in June of 2017 and June of 2018. Charlie actually did that twice. He's the only one that won back-to-back awards like that, much like Arenado did. Found out that in 2020, no Rockies had won a Player of the Week award. That was a tough season. Also shortened. 2001 and 1998 were the only other years where they
Hmm.
hadn't won. And in 1996, big year for Sluggers, 6 Player of the Week awards that year. No postseason though.
Big year. I was going to say, whenever anyone mentions anything that happened or didn't happen in 2020, I'm like, there were like nothing happened. 2020 barely counts to me as a year in my life, as a year in baseball. Like there weren't enough weeks to give everyone Player of the Week who probably maybe might have deserved it.
Oh, for sure. And
Yes.
it's just one of those weird, strange things. I mean, you can, as I said, 6 Player of the Week awards in 96. In 2007, there were 5, but then in 2017, you had only 2. So it doesn't, it's not any kind of indicator of team success
Yeah.
or postseason success. It's just one of those fun things, I think to look back on. So that's pretty neat. We did learn that on Tuesday. Actually, we learned on Sunday's post game show, which you may have listened to as a podcast on Monday morning. Remember, head on over to our YouTube channel, DNVR Sports, where you can see all the wonderful graphics. We're going to be playing a game today, so we're going to have some great graphics that are going to really amplify your enjoyment of the game. So make sure you check out that channel. But we talked about it live on Sunday. And it lived, again, still on YouTube all throughout Sunday until Monday morning when the pod came up. But we mentioned Ryan Feltner had gotten sent down, probably would stay with the team in San Francisco, partially because he would more than likely be needed over the weekend. There is a split doubleheader on Saturday against San Diego. It's already been scheduled. That has to do with the original schedule being canceled. So Feltner making the trip, but option to AAA. Who's getting called up? Is it going to be Chris Bryant coming off the IL, or ends up being Elehuris Montero, a guy who can provide some serious pop for Colorado right now when they're in need of some serious pop?
Definitely in need of serious pop. And yeah, Montero's been doing really well down at AAA ever since his last brief trip to Colorado. So I'm excited to see how this changes the dynamic as we're heading to San Francisco.
Yeah, on Tuesday night, he batted 7th, started at third base. Hey, does that mean, this is a message to Ryan McMahon about his defense? Not necessarily. There is a left-hander on the hill, Carlos Rodon. That might be a good reason why to bring him up. You're also going to have a left-hander on Wednesday night in Alex Wood. So you may see Montero there in consecutive games. And if he can continue to play really well, I mean, is he going to get a bulk of starts over a Ryan McMahon? Maybe you have him at DH when there's a right-hander on the hill and McMahon's out there at third base. You don't know. We'll wait and see what happens. But if you're going to call up a player of his caliber who needs reps, you are going to play him. And so it will be exciting to see what he's able to do out on the road in southern and northern California, excuse me.
Yeah. And last time we saw Elehuris Montero, he was, at the DH spot. So we'll actually get to see him and what he can do in the world of defense. So
great point. Yeah. His first start in the field. That will be a big one. That's exciting. It's always a big one. It's always exciting down on the corner of Colfax, New York at the DNVR bar for all of our watch parties. Now, we don't have the schedule yet for the Stanley Cup finals, but you could come down, do some scouting, hang out. We know Rudo, AJ, Megan, Evan. Forgot our guy Jesse Montano. He of course is a part of that Avs crew. They're gonna be scouting. Yeah, they're gonna be doing some scouting on the Eastern Conference Finals. So got to know who the Avs are playing. So get down there. If you're a member, of course, you get that member-sized beer, extra raffle tickets at any of our watch parties. Price breaks on any of the tailgates, party buses, and stuff that we have going on. Of course, access to our members only Discord where we talk about some things that we might not feel as comfortable going public with, but we'll talk to you about it directly. And again, only 50 cents for your first month on the DNVR.com. And one of the coolest things going on right now, because you want to go to the finals, tickets are going to be very expensive, but Breckenridge Brewery is actually trying to help you out. They're the hometown craft beer of the Avs, and right now they're celebrating this historic season with you, the community, those of you who have gone through such a challenging year, and they're giving you Avs tickets to a pair of community stars each home game. Now, when we say you, we don't mean you. Don't nominate yourself. You're nominating someone in the community that is a hardcore Avs fan that deserves to get a chance to celebrate at the finals. This year, you're going to get tickets, you're going to get gears to match, and of course, the drink of the season, Avalanche Ale. Do that at breckbrew.com to nominate a community star and send them to an Avs playoff game and hold that over their head for the rest of their life. Now, NBA finals are going on as well. And of course, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, has that deal we mentioned earlier. $5 bet becomes $150 in free bets when you nail the winner of any game. That's it. Even if it's a favorite, a heavy favorite, you turn 5 into 150. You can also do something similar with these same game parlays. You combine multiple bets from the same game for a bigger payout. And if you've got 3 or more legs and you miss by 1, DraftKings Sportsbook is helping you out because they're still going to give you $25 back if one of those legs doesn't hit. Hedge those bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR, where you bet $5 on any NBA team to win their game during the NBA Finals and get $150 in free bets instantly. That's promo code DNVR at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only, new customers only, minimum $5 deposit. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. Well, in this Giants series, as I mentioned, Carlos Rodon and Alex Wood, 2 lefties, going to the first 2 games for the Rockies. That'll be Herman Marquez, then followed by Antonio Senzatella, Austin Gomber, and we'll find out who the Giants are throwing on Thursday. But we'll, of course, have a nice little post-game show when that goes down. That might be right after you get out of work because it's a 1:45 start time. So you figure a 4-hour game, about maybe 3.5. That's going to take you right in there, 5:30, whatever it may be. So I'm excited for this series to see if the Rockies, can kind of change their fate, because we knew they weren't safe on the road before. They seemed like they were safe at home. Now that's not safe. And I think, they might be pressing, which isn't good. And we'll get to some of those implications of what happens if you press too much. But I think things can't get any worse. They've got to come away with at least 2 wins in these 7 games. If they don't get it, it won't be totally shocking. But I think they really need to get at least 2 here in California.
Yeah, unfortunately, I really wouldn't be surprised if that were the case, but you really need to hope that, because ever since the hot start ended, things have been really rough, really downhill, and especially losing a series at home to the Braves. Not even getting one of those is so disappointing. So you really got to hope that something changes on the road, even just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. They were held to 3 hits on back-to-back nights, which of course is quite a rarity, at Coors Field in particular. So Giants are throwing, 2 of their better pitchers. Rodon is kind of a Cy Young kind of candidate. So, he's going to be dealing. He has in the past against them. It's in San Francisco. That's it's not a very hitter-friendly type of ballpark. A lot of different textures, as they would call it, in the outfield, right? You've got fencing, you've got hard surfaces, you've got padding, you've got the brick wall out there. So we'll kind of wait and see what happens with those splash hits. Haven't gotten too many home runs on the road. Could be hard for it to happen, but maybe Elehuris Montero can get it going. Maybe, again, you need something to jumpstart, and they're not rolling out the exact same lineup. You even saw Jose Iglesias batting 5th in the lineup there on Tuesday night. So Bud Black saying, look, you're hitting on the road. You feel a little bit more comfortable on the road. Caught up with Jose Iglesias, something coming out this week here on some interesting comments he made about, maybe moving around the lineup, because we know he's been a little more successful on the road than at home, and had 2 4-hit games, batting 8th and 9th this season. So does he deserve a spot, maybe hitting leadoff or batting second, something like that? Talks about that briefly, as well as why is there a reverse road split? So very, very enlightening conversation with that guy. So we'll see if that translates a little bit here on Tuesday night and in this series.
Also, I love that he's so hard to get a hold of, Iglesias. And I love that I went to go say something to you in the clubhouse and you were like, nope. You pushed me aside and you ran over. You're like, I finally got him.
I did the big eyes because I noticed, I was like, wait a minute, his usual comrades, his his group of players wasn't around him, and it was in there. So we won't get too deep into the weeds, but some guys are busier. Like, again, it's
Yeah,
well
yeah.
known. Charlie Blackmon, after a game, is working out for like an hour, even if we're talking a doubleheader, even if it's a long week. So you've got to wait for that. So sometimes that kind of stuff happens, and it just doesn't line up. And so when it doesn't line up, you got to seize those opportunities, to say the least.
It was hilarious. I loved it.
Well, what's not hilarious is a couple moves. A couple teams in red deciding ultimately they needed to part ways with their manager first. We saw it at the end of last week. The Phillies letting Joe Girardi go, and Rob Thompson was named the manager, straight up manager of the Phillies for the rest of the season. Now they've reeled off 3 wins in a row, so their problem was fixed magically like that. We'll get into that in a moment. And then we found out on Tuesday afternoon that Joe Maddon was let go as the skipper of the Los Angeles Angels, with not Tyler Nevin, his dad, Phil
Yeah.
Nevin, named
There
the
you go.
interim manager. So he's not the full-time manager just yet, but he does have that interim tag so far. And not surprising for either one of these guys. Maybe the timing, maybe not. But I think going into the year, there are a couple guys with heavy expectations on their team. And if they weren't going to get the job done early on, or rather, if their team didn't get the job done, then sometimes you just have to change things up a little bit. And that's what the Phillies and Angels did here in the last week.
Yeah, I do also think it's funny because, at the beginning of the season, before everything starts up, we make our predictions on what we think is going to happen. And for my NL and AL managers of the year, I predicted Joe Girardi and Joe Maddon. So I'm already out of that one. But I'm going to defend myself here. Those predictions were contingent on those teams doing well and making the postseason. So yeah, like if they made the postseason and those managers were with those teams, then yeah, absolutely they would be great contenders for manager of the year. I had high expectations. Clearly their teams also, or their organizations rather, had high expectations too. So I'm not going to take it too much to heart. I'm not going to let it, diminish my confidence. But I just think it's hilarious. That is hilarious. That is a funny aspect to me.
Very, very big of you to point that out. I certainly would not have done that. But very, very good insight too. If you wanna, go on DraftKings Sportsbook and nail the Manager of the Year award to win some money, pick a team that is good and going to the playoffs. You heard it here first, Suzie Hunter. Good tips. That's a good tip.
Thank you. Yes, I
Although,
know. Very big of me to point out my failures and mistakes.
Although Joe Girardi did win a Manager of the Year award with Florida with a losing record, if you recall. And again, it goes back to expectations, because that's what you said. That's the word that sticks out.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people reaching out in the DMs and emailing me, Patrick at thednvr.com. Again, if you're a member on Discord, have had some of you reach out to me directly. And so to answer that question, well, if that's what the Phillies and the Angels are doing, now when Joe Girardi was let go, they were 22-29, 7 games under 500, similar under 500 record to the Rockies. Joe Maddon only 2 games under 500 on Tuesday afternoon, and so the question goes, well, why not Bud Black? Why wouldn't Bud Black be let go if he's in a similar situation or worse? And a lot of that just comes down to expectations.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair. I know, we got to hear from him on his takes on him and his staff just a little bit before a game during this homestand. But yeah, expectations, it's the big word here.
And I think, of course, the Rockies are always, enjoy praising their players and thinking that, hey, if all goes well, they can make the postseason. And I think that's virtually always true. Fangraphs does a really good job of breaking things down, looking at players like their 99th percentile. Like if everything were to go perfect, here's their numbers. And hey, if they are only half the player we expect them to be, here's how good they are. Here's, what kind of output they would have. And so if you looked at the 50th percentile, you wouldn't have thought that this was a playoff team. And I don't think either you or I necessarily thought that. If things went the right way and things went well, maybe through June, maybe through July, and again, we still have some time, then Bill Schmidt could go out and add some players to make that postseason run. But, that being said, I think, the Rockies are probably hitting the expectations in the general scheme of things of what we kind of thought they would have done. Now, their play as of recent has been really bad. Again, 7-20 in their last 27 games since May 8th. So that's definitely far below what we thought they would be like. But granted, that is a 27 game stretch. Let's look at the 25 or so games before that where they were really good, right? 16-11. So again, I think in the grand scheme of things, they might be just a little bit below where you expected. It's just how, right? If they reel off 9 straight wins and then they have a 9-game losing streak, are they that awesome team that, can win almost every game? Or are they that awful team that nearly lost every game? Or are they actually just somewhere in the middle? And I think that's where the Rockies are. They're really just somewhere in the middle. And so the expectations for the Rockies, while they were hoping would be really good and maybe would lead to that third wild card, I think in the grand scheme of things for our predictions, I think I might have had 77, 78 wins for this team going into the year. I still think they're kind of on that pace. You also on the flip the switch, and Suzie, I mean, again, you're there every day, so you see it too. What manager are you bringing in that's going to make this team that much better? Is there one out there?
Well, a couple guys have some time, but yeah, no, exactly. Who are you bringing in? Who is, what will turn this around? I don't know.
For sure. And as you said, with Buddy addressing, Darryl Scott, has been under fire a little bit with the pitching staff. And so, you think about maybe sending a message, like sometimes that happens. I think that's partially what, Philly and LA did. LA, the Angel situation might be a little bit different. We're still kind of learning a lot of information about that. But in Philadelphia, you have all of those stars, all of those expectations. They just weren't getting it done. And so you say, all right, someone's got to be on the chopping block. And I think that's Joe Girardi. The Joe Madden situation, again, we'll find out if it's something, different than that. If he lost the clubhouse, Buddy hasn't lost the clubhouse. So that's not the case. But pitching coach Darryl Scott. So one of the things that Buddy said, as you pointed out there, Suzie, is, should he be worried about his job or anything like that? And, the bottom line is Darryl Scott was the bullpen coach last year. And if you remember, the second half of the season, after the All-Star break, a staff that had a lot of young pitchers, a lot of rookies, a lot of young guys that are still on the staff now, but a lot of rookies, they had the 4th best bullpen in all of the National League. Now, I'm not saying that makes Darryl Scott, right, the best pitching coach in the world, the best bullpen coach, but you're saying, hey, this guy obviously has done something right in the recent memory. And so do you let somebody go if, after 2 months? Maybe if they're not getting out of those players what you expect, but if the players are kind of playing how, to their talent level, then the pitching coach and the hitting coach are meeting those expectations. So that can be hard. It's worth a conversation. So yeah, Buddy did address that to a lesser extent. You can look at new bullpen coach Reed Cornelius. Buddy said, he's still getting to know him, but quality coach, nothing but good things in his last gig, I believe, with Miami. So a lot of connections there. And yeah, it's less than what you would have liked, but to bring in somebody off the street, I don't know that you're getting more. And if that's a problem, right? Because there's going to be other teams who've done that. Again, we're going to see what the Phillies do. We're going to see what the Angels do. And maybe that does something because of the candidates that they bring in. Well, maybe they were in a position to do that more so than the Rockies. And maybe that's a problem for the Rockies, is that they're maybe too entrenched with their coaching staff. And it's hard to bring somebody from the outside in. These are all definitely fair questions. But for anyone, wanting Bud Black's job, you're not going to bring anybody else in to do a better job based on what you've gotten. And again, what you haven't gotten, that's good English. What you haven't gotten, I'm doubling down on that. What you haven't gotten is a lot of Chris Bryant, 17 games out of KB 23. So that's kind of a big one, right? Other little things that I don't need to really address with, the guys going on the COVID IL, those things happen. Like it is what it is. But you're not bringing anybody better. Buddy hasn't lost his clubhouse. He's doing a great job with with the talent that he has. Is it a perfect job? Of course not. I'm sure he would say the exact same thing. But nevertheless, you look at what the Angels and Phillies did and think, do the Rockies, do the same thing? I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, it's also hard to tell how things are really going for Philly because, I mean, yes, they've been winning since letting go of Joe Girardi, but that was also against the Angels, who obviously were going through struggles of their own. So it's kind of hard to gauge right now, even how these are all panning out so far.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, bottom line, Buddy has said it many times that they are not pitching how they expected the team to pitch. So they aren't getting the job done. Again, is that the players? Is that the coaching? Is no one's tinkering with Herman Marquez and has suddenly made him, a 6 ERA pitcher, right? There's something going on there. We still don't exactly know the details or whatever, but it's a difficult situation, obviously. And so, hey, this road trip not coming at a great time. They never are. They never are. It's always tough out there in California on those West Coast trips, and it doesn't help that the Giants and Padres are just playing so well right now, and the Padres are doing it without Fernando Tatis Jr. That's what's wild.
Yep. We unfortunately the Rockies have found themselves in a really good division, so none of these trips to the West Coast are really going to be, they are always going to make me a little anxious for sure.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to be anxious when it comes to having a nice meal because you can just go down to Sexy Pizza. That's it. They've been in the community in Denver for 13 plus years. They've got a location in Capitol Hill, Old South Pearl, Jefferson Park, and Park Hill. And Sexy Pizza, bottom line, is as local as it gets. We're talking hand-tossed deck oven pizza made from scratch dough each morning. That's what I love most about Sexy Pizza is how fresh the ingredients are and the fact that they donate to a range of different nonprofits right here in Colorado. You can actually learn more when you go to www.sexy.pizza. Check out their About page for the donations link and find out how if Sexy Pizza can support your cause or cater an event, and they can kick back a little bit of money to your charity or whatever it is that you've got going on, because they are here for us. They've been at all the tailgates that we've had going on, and so we love Sexy Pizza. Also, DNVR AVS. Use that code. Forgot to mention that DNVR AVS in your order. You're going to get 15% off now through June 12th. So got to thank the Avs for going deep here in the you wouldn't think a team going deep into the postseason is going to save you money, but it makes people do crazy things when your team is doing historical things. So check out www.sexy.pizza. And if you're in the southern part of our state, go down and check out Trinidad. And then after that, you might want to get your teeth freshened up a little bit. And you can do that at Green Mountain Dental Group. They'll go ahead and pop out any of the sausage, pepperoni, meatball. Do you have a favorite topping, Suzie, on your pizza? Either that gets caught in your teeth or that doesn't get caught in your teeth.
You know what? I love a veggie pizza. So, of course, veggies are just famous for being the things that get stuck right in the front teeth where everyone sees them. So that's my problem.
Onions? Do you go onions?
I love onions. Yeah. Honestly, you put any veggie on a pizza and I will love it.
That's good. That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, they've got that there. And as I said, Green Mountain Dental Group is going to go ahead and pop out all those veggies that you got in the front of your grill there. So many of our members have already switched over to them, and they're incredibly glad that they did so. You're smiling already because of the Avs, but now you got an even brighter smile than before. Best part is when you schedule cleaning, x-ray, and exam with them, you're going to receive a free Sonicare toothbrush from Green Mountain Dental Group, located just 15 minutes from downtown Denver. I need sausage and pepperoni is my favorite, but actually I like olives. Is that weird?
No, I love olives. People are so divisive over olives. I love olives. I'm good with them on nachos. I'm good with them on pizza, but I'm also very Mediterranean. So, it's the food of my people.
There we go. Kalamata? Are we going Kalamata or what are we talking here? What kind of olives?
I mean, I love black olives, but I also like Kalamata olives. So
same.
But black olives are really they're the more mild one. Those are better for toppings on things like pizza or nachos. So that's my take on that.
Yep. Got to slice them thin. Like that's the way to go on that.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think that's the way to go. Susie,
Um,
go ahead, take it away because we need to have a little bit more fun. We talked about the difficult stuff, firings, people needing to get a new job, the road trip. The Rockies in general sometimes can be a little stressful, a little bit challenging. So I think we need to lighten the mood here a little bit, don't you?
Are we playing a game? Are we play some set? Is that what we're doing?
We're gonna try to. Yeah, we are. We're gonna have some fun.
So, Say What is the game where I take quotes out of context and I see if Patrick knows who said them. Sometimes it's harder than it sounds, but we are going to have some fun today. I've picked out some great quotes for us. Um, let's start. All
I'm gonna get
right.
them
So, I'm going
all.
to
By
read
the
you.
way, I'm gonna run it. I'm gonna run the gamut. I think I'm gonna get every single one. I'm calling my shot right now. Drew Goodman. I don't know if you listened to Tuesday's episode, but I asked him 3 trivia questions. He got all 3. No joke. I was
Oh my
impressed.
gosh.
Yeah, it was at
Um,
the end of the episode. They were all Rockies related. B Rod was the inspiration. We talked homers and whatnot. He nailed it. So I'm gonna try to do the same thing.
I have so much faith in you. Let's
Let's go.
go. All right, let's start it off. Let me pull up my quotes. Am I
And
going
no,
to
we don't use the same spreadsheet or Google document. Susie keeps this separate from me.
Mhm.
So I don't know. You want to make me feel bad? I'm glad you do. I'm glad. I don't want to know. I want this to be legit, but people should know. Like, we're not.
Yes, I actually I like to keep things from Patrick. I'm a very secretive person. So this is where we're at. Okay, here we go. Quote, am I going to resign? I haven't made a decision. Every commissioner I know always gets booed.
All right, I know this one, but you can put the image up on that. Yeah, I mean I can because I know the answer, the silhouette. I can
Yeah.
definitely make out. Oh, I guess he's got glasses on top of his head. That's a strange one. Again, go over to the YouTube channel DNVR Sports. See if you can just tell by the silhouette. Producer you hear does an amazing job with these. So you're talking about commissioner. Every commissioner gets booed. This was a big story. Look, we did like 2 hours, I feel, on the City Connect, and we did not do 2 hours on Tommy Pham and Jock Peterson. So maybe we're making up for it. That would be fantasy football commissioner. And that's what it should say on his plaque, not Los Angeles Angels outfielder. It should say fantasy football commissioner, Mike Trout.
You are correct, Patrick. I wanted to start you off on an easy one, of course. But yeah, this was the slap heard around the world, or at least the loudest one since Will Smith at the Oscars, Tommy Pham, and Jock Peterson. We still have not stopped talking about their dispute over the fantasy football league they're in. And it's now dragged other big leaguers into the spotlight, like Mike Trout. So eventually, when he is in the Hall of Fame, his plaque will say, he was an Angels outfielder and a terrible fantasy football commissioner.
That's it. It needs to be on there, especially for generations later. Like Susie, when you bring your grandkids or something like that, they'll say gammy. I don't know. You strike me as someone who'd be a gammy in
Oh
60
my
years.
God.
I don't know. Gammy, what's fantasy football? And you're like, oh, remember before we started living in holograms and virtual reality, there was this thing. You know what I mean? Like no one will know what that is in the future. So.
No,
All
I
right,
feel
go ahead,
like
Gammy.
fantasy football is one thing that will survive the apocalypse.
Is,
But
is that like Madden reality? Like, yep, that Madden NFL virtual reality that you live in, most of the time. It's kind of like that.
it's
Like,
kind
thanks,
of like
Gammy.
that.
Thanks, Gammy.
I can't believe I'm a gammy. This is a shock to me.
I've never known a Gammy. I just that is that a phrase? I don't know. I wanted to go with something super obscure. Have you ever heard that? I think that's a thing, right?
I think it is. I think it is. No one in my
Gammy.
family is a gammy, so I guess it's up for grabs.
What were your grandparents?
But we will talk offline about this. I mean, do I feel like a gammy when I spend entire off days in bed, like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory grandparents? Yeah.
Well, you're not currently a gammy. You are in pre-gammy phase. I'm saying in the future you will
I know.
be. That will be
Yeah.
your name of choice.
The future is now. I am that gammy.
I
Let's move on to the next.
I had a grandma and a nana. Those were my two.
See, I had a
Grandma
mum,
and
I
Nana.
have a Nana, and then I have a Babsha. So,
Okay, well, you win 3-2. Great. All right, but I'm 1-for-1 so far today. Let's keep this running, baby.
all right, let's go. Here we go. Quote, I looked up at the scoreboard and thought I had something wrong. 9 - 4. What's more than that? Patrick, who said that?
Oh, really? Second question? I'm going to miss on that? I looked up at the scoreboard and thought I had something wrong. 9 - 4. What's more than that? Okay. All right. 9 - 4 is 5. Yes. Okay, I got it. I reeled it in. Yes. Okay. So this was the Sunday night baseball game, actually. And it was Dave Roberts. Oh, no. Did I get the wrong manager? Yeah. Dodgers were down 9-4. And they're like, well, all right, the Mets have won this. We're going to concede because we got bigger fish to fry coming up. Oh, was it the Dodgers? It was. I'm going to go Dave Roberts because I don't want to drag this out. Is it Dave Roberts?
Oh, you're so close. It was the
What?
other manager in that
Buck
matchup, Buck Showalter.
Oh, yes.
So the Mets manager was confused when Dodgers manager Dave Roberts had a position player coming in to pitch when the Dodgers were only down by 5. So apparently the skipper didn't know this rule. You have to be down by 6 or more to bring in a position player to pitch. And this rule dates back to before the 2022 season, but we haven't really seen it enforced because, we've been going through these pandemic seasons with different rules. You can only do so many new rules at once. But back in August, I thought this was funny. Back in August of 2021, Roberts brought in a position player to pitch while facing the Rockies. He brought in Justin Turner when the Rockies were up 5-0 at Dodger Stadium. So I thought that was pretty interesting that he is probably not a fan of this rule because he's been pushing it a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Buck does not want to let anyone get away with anything. So, yeah, he called it. It's haven't heard too much conversation about that after, but I'm sure Dave Roberts will remember that. Say, all right, if you want to play by the book like that, then we will play it by the book like that.
Yeah, that at least 10 minutes, but even the umpires seemed confused. But Buck Showalter was like, no, this is a rule. We're following it. So they had to give an actual pitcher some time to warm up. And the Mets broadcasters, the SNY broadcasters, the audio I heard, they were just like outraged by this. But that's how it went down. Pretty chaotic.
That Mets broadcast booth can do some interesting things. There was a recent viral tweet about stroking, and I'll leave it at that. Anyway,
I missed that one, and I'm glad I did. All right, are you ready for another one?
Let's go. Here we go.
All right. Quote, it's definitely a once in a lifetime type of thing. Not a lot of position players get a chance to pitch, and it's one of those kind of special moments that you'll look back on. Patrick, who said that?
The quote does not jump out to me exactly, possibly because I didn't see it in print and because I also wasn't standing next to him, but the silhouette, all right? How many times has the silhouette saved my butt? That would be Rockies outfielder / best pitcher in the Rockies bullpen, Randall Grichuk.
That is correct. Randall Grichuk said it. I know you weren't there for him saying that. You weren't there for our conversation, but I figured you could get this one. But yeah, Randall Grichuk got to check an item off his baseball bucket list when manager Bud Black let him come in to pitch. He's been asking since his Toronto days. He's never gotten the chance to until very recently. And it very well might be once in a lifetime because we know that Bud Black hates when position players have to come in and pitch.
Detests. Like he detests it. Yes. Yeah, I would like to see his good buddy Dave Roberts and him have a conversation about that because they would be polar opposite, and they could just do it on with a fence in between them because I think they are next door neighbors. They're neighbors, but that's a vague thing. You know what I mean? Like you and Sierra are neighbors, but that's actually literal. So.
Yes, of course. Everyone knows that me and the whole Wilson family were neighbors. But yeah, I would love to hear a conversation between the two of them. We got to get them all in the same room when the Dodgers and the Rockies are playing each other next.
I'm down for that. All right, number 4.
All
I
right.
feel good. Feeling good.
You're doing a good job, Patrick. All right. Quote, this will have no effect on my rehab and is literally a non-story.
Whoa.
Literally a non-story. Patrick, what's a non-story and who said this?
I felt good today, and I'm still feeling good today. Okay. Somebody has to be already injured and be rehabbing, and there's something. It's a non-story. So who's on the IL and had something happen to them? Would it be Maxwell, Jacob, Friedman, Scherzer? That's not his middle name, but I had to throw a wrestling reference in there. You didn't even know it was there, but you still laughed at it. That would
I
be
didn't.
Max
I just
Scherzer.
thought you were making up names.
No, it would not be MJF. It would be MS, Mr. Max Scherzer. Is that right?
You are correct, Patrick. Yes. The Mets
It's so weird
starter
seeing him
has.
in a Mets shirt. Look at that. I'm not used to that.
I know
Does that
it's
look weird to
so
you?
weird. It's
It looks
so
weird.
weird. It looks weird to me. But
It's
yeah, the Mets
weird.
starter has already been absent from the rotation, and now fans and the New York media have a new concern about his pitching hand because his dog bit his pitching hand. So we had to do the classic notepad screenshot statement tweet to clear it all up. He said that his dog was upset, the dog was hurt, kind of freaked out, bit his hand. It's a non-story, he says, but the Mets starter is recovering from an oblique, but a strained oblique, but this apparently will not derail him. It was not that bad and a literal non-story, according to Max Scherzer.
I heard a little bit more about this morning, but it wasn't until what you just put up, what you hear put up on the screen, super producer you hear, again, on the YouTube channel, on DNVR Sports, that I saw it in writing that I remembered and recalled. The exact same thing happened to me this week. I actually had to do a little pet sitting and was looking after a friend's dog with a hurt paw and tried to wrap it up. And that MF bit me, but it was more like a scratch, like nothing opened up or anything. And I was like, all right, well, we just lost all that trust that we'd been building up over the last several weeks. Alas, I'm okay. So this is also a non-story.
Was it on your pitching hand?
It was on my right hand. I was okay. It was on one of my typing hands. I still went to the ballpark that day. Had a good day. I published 3 articles. Yep. At 25 tweets. It was a good day. I still had a good day. It didn't
so resilient, so brave. Love that you're still putting up the numbers despite your injury.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, we got one more for you. Patrick, let's see what you got here. Quote, I ran around the room for 3 minutes. I didn't want to look at it. I felt like I had hurt. I felt like I had my heart in that finger, rather.
I got it. All right.
You do?
The silhouette
I feel like the silhouette kind of gives it away here.
Well, it may, yeah. Well, after I figured out who it was, I go, okay, yeah, the silhouette. But also, it's a weird angle. I think it's a weird angle. It makes the guy's head look like a boulder or something. It's a weird angle. Again, that's why I got to go for YouTube Team, your sports channel. Okay. He said finger, so that's the tip right there. No pun intended. That would be Frankie, Mr. Smile, Lindor, aka Lindor. Get it?
Yes. Finger in that door, Francisco Lindor. Patrick, I'm very impressed with you this week. But yeah, it's been a week for weird Mets injuries. Francisco Lindor was out of the lineup for just a day after slamming his head inside of a sliding double door in his hotel room. But he's doing just fine. He hit a home run the other day. I wasn't trying to make this a Mets show, but weird things happen to the Mets, and they just are great material for all of this.
And are we sure that Scherzer and Lindor wasn't nipped by a raccoon? Are we sure that wasn't the case? It wasn't a raccoon? That was a story last year.
The Mets are just really good at having weird things happen to them, around them, at the field. It's just they are. I don't know what it is. I don't know who put a curse on them when they were born, but that is just the way it happens.
Are they pound for pound? I would be curious to ask people pound for pound, what team has like the wildest stories. Like who always like, did you hear what so and so? You don't do that. Oh, did you hear what about the Blue Jays today? No, that's not a statement anyone really makes. Oh my God, did you hear what went down in Milwaukee today? Nope, never been said.
No, it's
But
always the Mets.
right? I mean, they're. I mean, is there anybody else up there? I mean, Yankees. I mean, Yankees are obviously always they've got some wacky things. I think, and maybe it just has to do with the microscope. But it's just the Mets do just have some weird ass stuff happen to them
They
all the
do.
time.
They do. The Mets lead the league in weird stuff, and we know the Cincinnati Reds lead the league in fans making weird foul ball catches. This is just how it is. What do the Rockies lead baseball in?
Purple. I mean that might be it. Oakland's up there though. Oakland's up there a little bit. You know, obviously because the stadium's doing most of the heavy lifting versus the team, but
Mm-hmm.
Oakland's kind of there a little bit. Just hear what happened at the OCO. Although it has a naming sponsor now too. I don't know what it
Oh,
is.
I
I
thought
saw
you
it
were gonna.
somewhere.
I thought you were going to bring up the fact that a woman performed the national anthem on a saw over the
Did you hear what
weekend.
happened in Oakland the other day? So there, that might be the new bit. Did you hear what happened in Oakland?
If we were to rank teams that have weird things happen, I guess Mets number one, then Oakland. And, we're going to work on putting this list together as the season goes on because this is my priority now. I love weird things, love weird stuff. Let's
Is
go.
yeah, it's is this a weird ass thing in Oakland or a weird ass thing for the Mets? That's like the game. You're like, ooh, okay, that sounds a little Mets. Like, would the Mets have a person with a saw? No, there's no way they wouldn't do that. They have an opera singer or something from Broadway. So I'm going Oakland. You know what I mean? Like you could probably figure that out. I think
That
it's
might
definitely
be a
plausible.
good, I might do that. This might be a good end of the season wrap kind of game that we play where I pick out some things that happened over the season and I'm going to ask if it was the A's or if it was the Mets. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put that together for the end of the year. So we'll talk in a few months.
And we'll do that with the Rockies too, because as we've learned at the end of April and at the end of May, we talk about the previous month, and you and I are both. And look, I'm making the notes up, and I'm still like, that was this month, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I saw there were dates, there were timestamps, it happened, and you go, that felt like a lifetime ago. And so
Yeah,
we'll do that again with the Rockies.
whenever we do our review shows, I'm like, no, really? What?
Yeah, there will be at least 3 things in our end of year wrap up that you're going to be like, I'm pretty sure I remember being at Kauffman Stadium when that happened last year. And I'm like, Suzie, it was July 9th. It's a fact. No, I was in Kauffman last year and that happened. I'm like, no, just yeah. That's just kind of how the baseball season is. It's long, but we love it that way, I think.
We
I like
do.
marathons. I like marathons.
I love marathons. I love, we got so many extra innings in the past week. I love extra innings, love bonus baseball, love how weird baseball is in general. So, I'm settled in for a long season.
Yeah, I hope everyone gets their rest this week because it's going to be challenging because I mean even just think about Saturday. I think 2:10 Mountain Daylight Time,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's another game at 8:10. So like that could be a really long day if you're definitely someone who keeps track of everything. Watching the games on AT&T Sportsnet or over on Evoca TV, evoca.tv/DNVR, or if you're following us on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies. And so you say, well, I got to get a good night's rest on Friday night. Well, Friday night, they also have a game at 7:40. So it's going to be one of those weeks when they're on the West Coast. It's only an hour difference, and yet it feels like a lot. Doesn't it?
It feels like a world away, but we're going to be live tweeting all of this. We'll be live tweeting tonight all of our insight, all of the things that we think and feel, all of it.
Yeah.
So hope you guys are all joining us on Twitter and etc. for all this.
Yep. Follow me on Twitter at Patrick D. Lyons.
And you can follow me at the Suzie Hunter on all platforms.
This has been wonderful, but you know what they say about momentum? It's only as good as your next show. So we'll talk to you then.